Hey guys, Richard here with eBike Reviews and Adventures. So today we're going to be taking a look at two trikes. We're going to be looking at the Lectric XP and we're going to be comparing it with the EMOJO Bison Pro. And the purpose of this video is to help you decide whether or not a smaller trike like the Lectric XP might be a better option versus a more better equipped trike like the EMOJO Bison Pro. So stick around for the video and we're going to jump into it right now. Okay guys, at first I want to share my story with you, and that is why we came to the decision of purchasing both of these e-bikes. Because we did purchase these. This channel, this video is not sponsored by EMOJO or the Electric Bike Company. To share the backstory with you just a little bit, my wife is less abled and she has a lot of pain, and so she doesn't get out of the house a whole lot. And when I started riding e-bikes and started getting out of the house, she started longing for being able to go out there with me. So we started shopping around looking for an option that will allow her to get out of the house and be able to get down the road with some of her limitations. We first started looking for mobility scooters, but none of them seemed suitable to be able to ride along a bike path, when I'm riding an electric bike. So that led us to trikes, and so we started searching for trikes, and we looked at options, we looked at many different brands, and we finally decided that this EMOJO Bison Pro was the best option for us. Now here's some of the things that I really wanted in a trike for her. I wanted something that was a fat tire so she could go down a gravel road or a bike path without any stability issues. We wanted something that had suspension front forks because we wanted to soften the ride and make it as most comfortable for her as possible. We were looking for something that had a 750 watt motor like this one here has, because we want plenty of power to be able to get up small inclines or through the grass or maybe even through the sand if we were to go down to the beach. And lastly, we wanted something that had a large battery so that we could go further should we decide to. The EMOJO Bison Pro fit all those requirements and even a couple of extras. As we researched, we discovered that this particular trike, the lowest seat position was about 1.5 inches or so lower than some of the others on the marketplace, so that was kind of like an added bonus. It came with hydraulic brakes, which was also an added bonus, so there was many things to like about this particular trike. Now this one, it retails for about $29.99, so it was, kind of steep for a trike. But we decided to go ahead and purchase it anyway because it met our needs. Now as a result, when we got it, we put it together, we got going down the road, my wife really liked it. She loved the idea of being out on a trike again, being able to go down the road and ride with me. But it didn't take long for us to realize that the trike was really kind of big and clunky, and bigger than maybe what we really needed. Listening to a lot of viewers, they reached out to us and said, hey, you really need to take a harder look at the Lectric XP. So we did. But one of the concerns we had with the Lectric XP is that it did have smaller tires. It's got a much smaller battery. There's no front suspension, and it has a much smaller motor. So it didn't meet any of our criteria. And that's why we originally just stayed away from it and said, no, this isn't the trike for us. But like I said, after listening to a lot of comments and watching some videos where people really seem to enjoy this trike, we decided that it was worth giving it a try. Now I can tell you from our point of view, we both really like this trike. As it turns out, the 500 watt motor peaks at like 1,000 watts, so it's really powerful. More powerful than I expected, and that it can easily take us through the grass. The battery is only a 14 amp hour battery, but for a trike, we have found that we're just not going very far, and the 14 amp hour battery is more than enough. Now I had a big concern about the comfort of this ride, and with rigid forks on the front, I just wasn't sure if that was going to work for us, but as it turned out, it's doing okay. You can still feel the bumps, but being that it's still a fat tire, even though it's only a 2.5 inch fat tire, it does soften the bumps when we go down a sidewalk or go down a bumpy road. And the price point of this trike is so much better than the Bison Pro. I mean, this is half price. You're spending $1,500 for a well-equipped trike. Now when it comes to some of the bonus features, it does have hydraulic brake, and we learned that the seat position is still just a little bit lower than the Bison Pro, which made it even easier to get on and off. Plus, an added feature for this one is it already came with a suspension seat post, which also helps soften the ride just a little bit. All right guys, so let me tell you, after having ridden both of these for a little while, we do like the XP Trike a lot better. And like I said, even though it has a smaller motor and some of those other things I mentioned, it's a well-equipped trike and it performs very well. But let's talk about its performance while riding down the road. Something that we learned that we didn't realize initially, because all we had driven or ridden was the EMOJO Bison Pro, is just how can I explain it? How flexible this is going down the road. It leans a lot. Even in the curvature of the road, okay, where the water runs off, so the road's kind of slanted a little bit to the outside, going down the road, this bike really wants to lean a lot to the right. So we find that we have to counter that by leaning to the left, just riding straight down the road. And then, of course, it turns fine. Whenever you make a turn, you have to lean to the inside corner a little bit just to make sure it stays nice and stable. And we never had a problem with it wanting to tip over with us. So for that aspect, it performed fine. It's just that I tend to think that maybe this frame is just a little weak. And what I'm talking about is it's really thin, okay? It's a really thin frame. And because the batteries and everything are tucked away back here in the back, and because of that, it tends to want to flex just a little bit more. And just sitting here shaking it like this, you can see the whole thing wiggles real easy. And if you imagine going down the road, it can continue to wiggle a little bit. So, you know, it's a nice ride, but not as nice as what we're seeing over here with the Lectric. Because the Lectric, it has a thicker frame down here, so it's got that solid feel to it, right? You don't have those weak spots. And even though it still shakes a little bit, you know, going down the road or sitting here, I can shake a little bit. It just seems to want to sit more upright. While we're riding in the same part of road that we rode this one, the trike wants to sit more upright and not want to lean so much. And so we were really impressed with the comfort and how this thing rode. Now, let's jump into a few other things here. What makes these trikes different from each other? Well, this one over here does have 24 by 4 inch fat tires on the front, and then it's got the 20 by 4 fat tires on the back. And the Lectric XP just has the 20 by 2.5 inch tires. And what we figured out is these tires are working just fine. Although this kind of looks cool, right? If you're a fat tire person, you like the idea of a fat tire, this bike does look really good, but it's not necessary. We have found that these tires are working just fine. Now, a couple other things that set this bike apart is I'm going to scoot over here to the side just a little bit, and I've got these positions so they're pretty lined up right there in the front. Okay, so you can probably see that right there, especially looking at the crack right here in the driveway. We got both tires lined up so they fit right along that crack pretty good. But then let's go back here and I'll just show you how much bigger the EMOJO is. So coming back here, look at it. That EMOJO is about 14 inches or so longer than the Lectric XP. So just overall, it just makes it a bigger bike, right? They're about the same width. So the width-wise, they're about the same. Let's go ahead and drop the seat down. Look at that lowest seat position, guys. I mean, and that's with the suspension seat post on there. That is tiny. Whereas you come over here, we'll drop this one down and we'll compare that as well. So let's go ahead and drop this seat post all the way down. There we go. Now we'll get down here and give you a bird's eye view of the two. And you can see that the Lectric XP just sits a little bit lower, especially the handlebars are sitting quite a bit lower than the Bison Pro. Because the Bison Pro, it was built to be a bigger bike. It's great for a bigger person, right? But it makes it a little more cumbersome to drive or to ride down the road. And that's one of the ways we were able to describe it. Riding the Bison Pro, after having ridden the Lectric XP, we discovered that this just feels so much more clunky. It feels just so much more, it's heavier. I mean, this is a 120-pound bike, whereas this one over here, if I'm not mistaken, this is like 90 pounds or something. So you got more bike, but you have a lot more battery too. This is a 23 amp hour battery, dual battery in the back, whereas the Lectric XP only has one 14 amp hour battery in the front, or in the down tube there. But just getting back to how it rides, yeah, it just felt big and clunky, not as easy to maneuver. You know, you can turn this around like on a sidewalk, but you're gonna go off the sidewalk quite a little ways, where this one stays on the sidewalk a little bit better. It's just a little easier to get turned around. I don't know, it's hard to explain, guys, but just big and clunky is the best way I can describe it. But having said that, if you're a bigger person, maybe you want something big and clunky like this, right? Because this is a beast of a bike, and it's a lot of fun. I still enjoy riding it, especially after we upgraded the controller. Out of the box, this thing only has 65 newton meters of torque, which wasn't enough to get us through the grass. But the company offers a free upgrade. You have to install the controller yourself, but it gives you 80 newton meters of torque, which is more than enough to get you through the grass. Whereas the Lectric XP, they advertise that it has 65 newton meters of torque, but I can tell you guys, I think it's a lot more powerful than that, because This thing goes up the hill, small hills, no problem, gets us through the grass, no problem. Where this one over here struggled a little bit. Sure, this has bigger tires, so that's going to affect things a little bit. But the comparison, there's just no comparison to how well this one performed over here. So, I don't know. You know, it's really about individual needs and what your needs are. I thought I needed this bike. I wanted it, and we thought we needed it. And in reality, this one right here is so well equipped that we could have purchased 2 of these in place of purchasing 1 of these. And we wish that's what we had done. One more thing I can share with you, if you're, if you need to fold these bikes up to store them, maybe in a garage or something, just be aware that when you fold this Bison Pro up over here, okay, and you bring this tire around, you can't tuck the front tire in between the frame and this rear tire right here. So the tire actually sits out here on the outside, which still leaves you with a lot of bulk. It's just not quite as long, okay, but it gets a little bit wider. Whereas the Lectric XP over here, it folds up a lot easier, and you can twist and fold this front tire around so it does squeeze in right here between the frame and this rear tire, and it does make a much more compact unit in order to be able to store it. Now, when we're talking accessories for these bikes, of course, there are accessories that you can purchase after the fact. We purchased the Lectric XP, and it came with the front basket and the rear basket. The same with the Bison Pro, it came with the front basket, rear basket. Since then, we have added, we've added this bag. This is a really nice bag by EMOJO. It fits down inside the basket, so it's flush at the top, but it's a really nice bag, and we like that. Whereas Lectric didn't provide something like that. They do have this insulated cooler bag, and it was designed to fit inside there, but it sits up much taller, which is also kind of good. It really depends on what your needs are there. And aside from that, both trikes came with the upgraded saddles with the backrest, so that was always really nice to have. We added a water bottle holder over here. We added an additional bag right here, cell phone holder, and those bar end mirrors. And as you can see, everything fits there really well. Same thing over here. We added the handlebar bag right here. You know, because these handlebars are swept back, it's a little hard to put mirrors on the end of the handlebars, so we opted to go with these guys right here, which they work pretty good, but they do bounce a little bit going down the road. A couple other differences I'll just point out to you. You know, the Lectric XP has a much bigger light that works a lot better than this tiny light that EMOJO gives you. It's a small light. It doesn't work very well in the dark. The fenders on the Lectric XP gives you good coverage from water and mud slinging or anything like that. Whereas over here on the EMOJO, unfortunately, it's such a small fender there, it's almost useless because it doesn't provide coverage down here, so you're still going to get slung with water and things if you get caught in the rain. And the same thing with the ones in the back. The ones in the back are a little bit bigger, but they don't extend around the tire much at all, so it's there for looks. It's really not helping you much at all. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful, and I can't tell you which one to buy because they're both really good in their own right. Only you can decide what your exact needs are. Certainly if you're a bigger person, you may want to go with something like the EMOJO Bison Pro because it's just bigger, beefier, and can handle a taller, larger person. I'm 6'1", I can still ride this trike, even though, my knees, they come up a little high, and for my overall needs, it could be a little bit bigger. But I tell you what, I'd certainly go out and buy one of these for myself. Thinking about doing something like that because my wife likes it so much, I like it so much, it'd be nice for both of us to have a trike riding down the road. Okay guys, so those are some of the reasons why we bought both of these bikes right here and why we like this one a little bit better than the one over here. Only you can decide what is best for you and your family and your needs and your requirements, but I hope this video was helpful and gave you some things to think about just a little bit. So if you have any questions, drop those down below too, because I'm happy to help you out any way that I can. But yeah, that's our journey for finding the perfect trike, and we think we found one that we like a lot right now. Now, just so you know, we are getting another trike and a third trike here in just a few weeks, and that's going to be the Admotor E310. So you may want to be watching for that one too, because it is similar to the Lectric XP in size and features. It does cost a little bit more, but I think some of the components on it are going to be a little better quality as well. So we're really excited that, because remember I just mentioned that we would easily buy a second one of these for our family. Well, we're going to go with the Ad Motor E310, and then we're going to compare both of these trikes right here and find out which one really is the best value. This might be the cheapest you can find in the market, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best value, right? So stick around for that video. It's going to be coming out here hopefully within a month, giving us time to get the bike in, get it set up, ride it a little bit. You know how that goes. Hey, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my future content. And until the next video, ride safe.